Unit 3, Lesson 2. This lesson will align with 12.4 and 12.5 in your textbooks. The one standard we are going to discuss: use volume formulas for cylinders, pyramids, cones, and spheres to solve problems. We've gone through all these formulas before. We're going to go through them again and then solve problems involving each of those formulas. First, we need to review the formulas for the volume of a prism and a cylinder. For a prism, volume is equal to base times height. This base referring to whether it's a triangular base, a square base, rectangular base, the area of whatever that whole bottom portion is, times the height. And then we have a cylinder. The volume is equal to pi times the radius squared times h. Using those formulas now, we're going to go through and solve to find each of the volumes in the following problems. First, focusing on the left, here we have a prism. This is a triangular prism. Our base is going to be the triangle portions on either end, and our height is going to be the distance along connecting one base to the other base. Alright, so our formula was the volume is equal to our base times the height. Our base, capital B in this case, is going to be the area of this triangle. So for our volume, it's going to be equal to, think about the area of a triangle, 1/2 times base times height, 1/2 times 8 times 7. This provides us with the area of this triangular base. Now we have to multiply that by h, which is going to be 13 in this case. And if you plug that in on your calculators, you will get volume is equal to 364. Then we didn't have a label, so it's going to be units cubed. Remember, volume is a cube dimension. Now looking on the right, you need to find the volume for this cylinder. The formula for the volume of a cylinder is volume is equal to pi times the radius squared times h. So we need two pieces of information, the radius and the height. Right now we have the diameter and the height. If the diameter is 10, take half of that. That means the radius is going to be 5. So we have 5 for the radius. We're squaring that times our height, which is 12. Now again, if you take your calculators, type this in, you will get the volume is approximately 942.48. Again, we didn't have a label. Actually, we do. We have a label in this case, it's centimeters, so this will be centimeters cubed. So applying the formulas for the volume of a prism and a cylinder. Next, we are going to go through the volume of a pyramid and a cone. For a pyramid, the volume is 1/3 times the base times the height. Remember, when you see this capital B, that base is referring to the area of whatever shape consists of the bottom portion, whether that's a triangle, a rectangle, or a square. That's what that capital B is referring to, that whole area. Then we have the volume for a cone. The volume is equal to 1/3 times pi times the radius squared times h. Now we are going to use those volume formulas we just discussed. First, we're going to work with the pyramid on the left. So the volume is equal to 1/3 times the base times the height. In this case, our base is a rectangle. Okay, we have this rectangle 10 by 8, and then we have our height. So we have the volume is equal to 1/3. The area of a rectangle is little b times h, that base times height. Don't get confused. We have two different terms for base right now. So if we're just finding the area of this rectangle, we're taking the base 10 times the height 8, or length times width. That's probably more useful right now. We're taking our length times our width. So 10 times 8. And then we have to multiply that by the height, which is 6. Okay. 1/3 times 6 is 2. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 times 10, 160. So the volume is 160 inches cubed for this pyramid. Now we need to find the volume for this cone. Formula for the volume of a cone is volume equals 1/3 pi times the radius squared times h. Fill in the information we know. The radius is 7. We do not know what the height is right now, but we can use the Pythagorean theorem in order to solve for that, because all this is a right triangle. We have the hypotenuse, which is 18, and a leg, which is 7. We need to solve for this other leg to find the height. So right now, h squared plus 7 squared is equal to 18 squared. We've gone through enough problems where we've used the Pythagorean theorem, so you could go through and solve for h. If you isolate h, you get approximately 16.58. We actually have to round that. Now we have all the information we need. So the volume is equal to 1/3 times pi times the radius 7 squared times 16.58. Again, if you type this in on your calculators, you will get approximately 850.76. And we didn't have a label on this one, so again, this would just be units cubed. Going through using the formulas we just talked about for the volume of a pyramid and a cone. The last three-dimensional shape we're going to talk about in this lesson is the sphere and the volume of a sphere. The volume is equal to 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. So when dealing with a sphere, the only thing you need to know is the radius. Trying to find the volume of this sphere, we have a radius of 9. Using the formula, the volume is equal to 4/3 times pi times our radius, which is 9 cubed. Type that in on your calculators to get an approximation, and you will get, whoops, this should not be an equal sign. This is approximately 3053.63. Our label is centimeters cubed. So a sphere with a radius of 9 is over 3,000 centimeters cubed for the volume. In this lesson, we reviewed many of the formulas for some common three-dimensional shapes, how to find the volumes of those shapes. Right? Make sure you're familiar with all of those formulas.